the official? Are we
Reconvene?
reconvene?
Yes.
That's the term. So our goal this morning is see if we can get to a recommendation that we would feel comfortable taking to the Board of Commissioners next Tuesday for their consideration. I'd like to go first, if that's all right with you, Tracy.
Sure.
Because I spent a lot of time yesterday going through my notes from the RFPs, going through my notes from the interviews and what was said yesterday and what I liked, what I didn't like, kind of the summary of that. And then that took a while, and then I stepped back and said, all right, well, what's really important here? What is it we got to get right? What's the best recommendation? And to the top of the list, I said, we've got to find the best candidate. We've got to find, if we can, the perfect fit for the town, and that's what's really important. And then I thought back across them, and it's like a lot of these are, you know, big databases, kind of commodity-driven things that they're just pushing people. You know, it's like part-time, it's like what I basically thought was, it's like speed dating versus marrying somebody. And we want to marry somebody, and we want to have the right, best candidate. So I went back through them, and there were a couple that stood out as being very concerned about the candidates, not just us and getting us a person, but also the candidates and how the candidates were treated and that side. So I scored them up, and the ones that kind of came across as, you know, big database, we're going to go against 14,000 people and get down to 50, and, you know, I dinged them because I thought, you know, that's kind of commodity type approach to doing this, and I really think we want the personal side and somebody that really cares about the candidate and brings on a happy candidate, and it's a perfect fit if we can get a perfect fit. And then I thought about it's important to work well with this company so that we can work together. We're working in the same direction. There's no conflicts. So I looked at the responses again, and a couple jumped out. It was the smaller firms that seemed to be more personal, seemed to be, you know, one of them we're going to work with the head person that owns the company. So I figured that's really good because, you know, they've got everything at stake. This is their business. This is their livelihood. They're going to do a good job versus if you're part of a big company. And I actually dinged one of them because when I was trying to figure out who to put on the list, I exchanged emails and had a really good feel for one of the people that was going to be the lead, and then it turns out she'd left the firm. So that one, it's like they must have some turnover, and I think that's not good. So they were, at one point, one of my highest ones, and then I said, no, you know, it just seems like it's too, you know, not personal enough, too commodity-like. And then help us through the process was kind of my third one. Who's best positioned to walk us through, hold our hand, help us with compensation, help us with onboarding, helping us with all that. And quite frankly, they all kind of stacked the same. There was one or two that weren't as good, but they all kind of seemed like that's what we need. We need somebody that can be our coach and walk us through the process and help. So that didn't really help differentiate. And then I looked at cost, and it's kind of the same thing. All these are less than 50,000. There may be 10, 20,000 difference. So cost to me was not going to be a distinguishing factor because they're all kind of in the ballpark. So that was the process I got through, and I ended up with three. I'm just going to go through kind of the order that they presented. Renee Knaplock, because she owns the company, she seemed very, very concerned about the candidates as well as us. Seemed like very personal service, very focused, wasn't going to, you know, churn through 1,000 resumes, but was going to, knew the market, knew the business, and would be a good matchmaker to help us find somebody. Also, Colin Banninger, I'm probably getting the names wrong, but same thing, because they're a small firm. They seem to be very, very focused on the candidate as well as us. You know, they did Topsail Beach, they're doing Wilmington, they're doing North Myrtle Beach right now, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it seems like, you know, they seem to have an answer to it when we ask them, but, you know, at a minimum, they're getting two for the price of one if they're going through the whole search for and finding great candidates. You know, it should be easier, and I don't know if we're going to be competing against them. I didn't know whether that was a good or a bad, the fact they were doing North Myrtle Beach now at the same time that we're doing ours. So that one I put on the list because I think they passed everything else, but that's kind of my consideration there. And then Mercer, which is a big firm. It does have a big spread, does have a big database, but had a very in-depth vetting process. I mean, writing samples, virtual interviews that we would look at, just very, very, very rigorous approach to making sure we got the right candidate. So they were kind of unique in that they were a big firm with a big database, but they seemed to have a good process in place to get it down to a really good candidate. The vetting on there was really, really good. So that's kind of where I ended up. I mean, we had 7. They were all suitable. They would all do the job. They all had, there wasn't anything disqualified any of them. But those 3, to me, kind of bubbled to the top as the top 3 based on what I just said. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so then I'll just give my, so I went through and similar process, whatever, and then I ranked them. It's interesting to see how we differ because Colin, I ranked them 1 to 7, and Colin ended up at the bottom half of mine as number 5, mostly because of the conflict that seemed to me with North Myrtle Beach that we'd be competing with them for candidates, and also they're doing, half the work if they're, and I didn't see them giving a differential on price for that. They're getting 2 for the same amount of, they obviously have extensive experience and stuff, but I dinged them for that. My number 1 was Renee. I thought that she was very focused on finding the right fit for our community and working with us extensively, and I thought that her process, the detailed 11-step process, was very good. But bottom line, I just really, when she interviewed with us, I thought she came across really well and as someone that we could work with. And from a personal standpoint versus just looking at all the facts, I felt some kind of connection to her that she would be a good choice. My number 2 was Baker Tilly, which I know is the one that you dinged for having lost someone, and then that you had contact with, and so you're concerned about their changeover. Because they're a big national firm, they would have a large reach, and they have also a very good process. So I thought that they would be fine. Honestly, I think any of these would be fine. So it's hard to distinguish little nits for each one, but. And then my 3rd one was Mercer, and that was in your top 3. So they have extensive experience, and I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but their focus seems to be more regional southeast than truly national, and I think that they would be able to find some really great candidates for us to review and see if they fit us. But yeah, they have large reach, so I thought that was good. So, yeah, we don't have to talk about the other ones, but, so I think of the top 3, 2 of them we agree are on the top 2.
Yep.
So do we want to, did you rank those top 3?
Sort of. I mean, I didn't want to, but as going through the process, I thought I want to put the top 3 and I want to debate the top 3. We talked, Mercer, I think it's kind of on the same level as Baker Tilly, so I would almost say that cancels out, and then it gets to Colin versus Renee. And I like them both because they're small, and I guess if I were to look at it, Colin, I would have felt better if he was the guy we were dealing with. But
Yeah.
we're dealing with his subordinates.
And I dinged him for that, too.
Yeah,
I
and it's
said,
not clear how much involvement, because I've seen that where, he's got the big name, but, you're not dealing with him.
yeah, I said the interview was almost exclusively with Colin, who will not be our point of contact. And the other 2 people, we didn't really hear anything from, and they have much less experience. One had, I think, 1 year and one had 3 years, so.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
right.
I had that on either Mercer or Baker Tilly, one of the other ones I kind of, or it may have been one of the other ones that we didn't really hear from the people we'd be working with.
Right, and I think that's important.
Yeah. So, and this is where I want to confirm, I had in my notes where, if we pick Renee, we're dealing with Renee.
Yes.
Is that the way you
Yes,
captured it?
that's what she said.
I didn't do details, but that's what I remember.
She definitely
Okay.
said that.
Okay.
That we were dealing with her.
Because
That was it, and that was important to me. That's why I do remember it, because that is important, that the person we were talking to is the person we would be dealing with.
Yeah, and in my career, I've been through this process on both ends. I've been recruited and helped people, brought on people to recruit. And there was one guy that was my favorite out of the whole career. He just knew the industry, he knew all the people. He was just great at matchmaking. It's like, for that job, I've got this reach, I got these, and I'd love to think Renee's got that. She seemed to have that. I think Colin's probably got it because, he's working with the towns right now that are in our neighborhood, so he should have a good base of contacts. But Renee, I think's got that, and I think the fact we're dealing directly with her probably is going to be a tiebreaker in my mind.
And if you look at cost, so I had down for her, like, she's not the cheapest option, but her fees were competitive.
I actually had her as the cheapest. Well, let me.
No, she's not the cheapest.
Well, I had
The
it in-
cheapest was Sumter.
Well, no.
I didn't add up.
I added.
Oh, I didn't add up all your stuff, because you were taking notes
Yeah.
on that for Christie to understand what the cost is that
So
we
I
have
added
to.
up all in.
Okay,
What they
okay, I
told
didn't
us.
do
And
that.
they added, so I had Rephitis at 46, I had Sumter at 33, I had MGT at 30, I had Renee at 26.
Oh.
So she was actually the lowest, because her add-on was not much.
Oh, okay.
I had Colin at, Baker Tilly at 34 and a half. I had Colin at 34 and a half, and I had Mercer at 35. So they're all in there,
Yeah.
and,
So she's actually more competitive cost than when you just look at the base cost.
yeah,
And
according to
which was
this, it's
all
the
I was
lowest,
looking
but
at.
like I said, they're,
That's what I was very close to yours.
okay. I mean, they're all less than 50.
That's an even better recommendation.
I didn't want to
then.
do it on price.
No, of course not, but it works out that she's ends up being more price competitive than the other ones.
Yeah.
Honestly, my big thing for her was the fit, that she would take the time to understand the town, what we were looking for, and then identify candidates that would, meet that.
Yeah, because I do think, like I said, the key is to get the very, very best person, perfect person, and the really, really good people are not in the market throwing the resume around looking for jobs.
Right.
They're working somewhere and doing really well,
Right.
and you got to steal them, and that's got issues. That's not easy to do. And I think she has those contacts. They're not the ones that are in these big databases that you flush through. So her and I think Colin are the two. Mercer, like I said, I think they could flush through them, but because they got a process to weed them out. But
So I had Colin on my bottom half at number 5, so I wouldn't be comfortable moving him forward into the
okay,
to the BOC. But I think it sounds like we can agree. Renee was my number 1. You're not.
she was my top 3, but yeah, I have no issues with her. I didn't have any concerns either. So this is where it gets to.
I personally think we should send 1 name to the board, because if we send 2, then they still have to go through and look through everything.
I agree.
And that's obviously, we know.
That takes a
That's
lot of-
a
that'll
lot
add-
of work, and they haven't had the opportunity to hear the interviews either, so they can't use that as part of their, which was a big factor for me with Renee. And
Yep.
even with Colin, it was a big factor, because the other 2 people that would be working with us didn't speak and have much less experience
true.
than him.
That's
So
true.
that's why I feel like the interviews definitely were worthwhile in helping to make just on paper, he might look better, but in the interview, he fell short.
Yeah, actually, before we did the interviews, I had Renee down. I thought she was, too small in Florida, but she jumped to the top. So I'm comfortable. Like I said, those 3 were the 3 I felt I was comfortable with.
So I think we should send 1 name forward.
Okay. So it sounds like Renee would be the one because she's on my top list and she's your top pick.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna, disagree with that. I think she's a good one. So I'm good with that.
Okay, do you want me to write up something that we can send to them? That Heather's gonna put in the package as an after fact of what their strengths were and why we chose
Yeah,
them?
we want to summarize how we got to where we got too?
Yeah, I think if one of you does that and just sends it to me, I can send it out sometime before Tuesday, whenever.
And if you want to send me some of your pros and cons,
I could do that.
just bulletized, it would be easier, because that's, oh, okay. Because that's how I
I
do.
created a chart at the top.
Okay, that's good.
And
'cause
I
didn't-
highlighted the three that I liked, and this was kind of my criteria. And like I said, it was, you know, who do we think can really bring us the best people? Would be the easiest to work with? Who do we think would be
Okay.
very helpful? And like I said, those other two, they all kind of scored the same, so.
Okay, great. So I already have a bulletized pros and cons for everyone too, so I'll just incorporate your stuff into that, and I'll give you something, Heather, by when? Because you said it's not,
The packets are, those are done, so as long as you could get it to me within the next couple of days, I could get it out anytime to them.
okay, perfect. And then it'll be also, so the public can see it, it'll be attached to
Yeah, I'll
the-
put it as a supplement, it'll be on the agenda page of the Board of
And you
Commissioners.
put it on the website, okay.
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 Yep.
Okay, I'm good, thank you. This is a lot of work. This was a lot of work. Hopefully, we saved the board a lot of work. but,
Exactly.
That's the goal.
I don't even know how we would have done that in a board
It
meeting.
would have, I don't know. Like I said, we don't get paid enough. So,
Okay,
I think we're good. Are we good? Okay. Let's adjourn.
Adjourned.
We're adjourned.
motion to adjourn, I don't know if we did that.